of all, actually looking at the business environment and the private sector, to be specific, the Kenya private sector is upbeat over an economic turnaround as the next administration takes over the reins of power. In an exclusive interview with KEPSA CEO Carole Kariuki, the business lobby group is hoping that William Ruto-led government will tackle the high taxes as well as the growing public debt. He is now KTN's Abia with this interview.
Private sector, what are some of your priorities that you'd want to see the new administration tackle, especially considering that the economy has been through significant headwinds from high fuel prices, food prices have been up. We've also seen quite a number of young people who are still unemployed.
So we did share with them our manifesto, economic manifesto, which will be engaging them with our public-private dialogue. The good thing is that the president-elect was part of those dialogues for the longest time since the coalition government, so he understands and he knows the value. So we are looking forward to continuing those engagement and continue to resolve the challenges, because no country can stand straight up and say they have no challenges. You know, you keep resolving challenges. You resolve one challenge today, there's another tomorrow. And also you keep ensuring that the past challenges do not recur. And so that's what we're going to be doing under our public-private dialogue. But then there's a lot around that. We'll be looking at the challenges. We've come from COVID, so there's a lot that has been lost. Even jobs that we had, some of the jobs that have been lost, businesses that have been lost. How do we make the environment more conducive? Looking at some of the taxes that inhibit growth of business. We've been looking at them over the years, but now I think it gives us a new mandate, a new opportunity to really go back and say, in the productive sector, if you're going to be a producing country, not an inputting country, what are all these taxes that that don't make sense? First of all, that also need to be reduced, because I always say, revenue cannot be forecast on increasing taxes. If you reduce taxes and stimulate production, then you'll have the revenue that you need. Otherwise, you'll just be killing the goose that lays the golden egg. And so that's why we'll be looking a lot. And those taxes range all through. How do we deal with the multiple levies and taxes with the counties? We've sung this song for years. Hopefully this time someone will hear us and we can really look at those multiple levies and taxes, and for once deal with them and attract the investments that we need. Go to the food sector. We've just gone through a drought, the worst in 40 years in the Horn of Africa. And so that will be a key area to look at, the fertilizers, all the production inputs that needs to be there, and agree that even if it's for a season, what do we need to remove to stimulate production in the food sector? How do we deal with the land tenure? We're looking at, we have a land policy, a land use policy that we don't really implement. And so where we should be producing food, that's where we're putting our concrete, and can we move our concrete to where food doesn't grow? One of the big things in the manifesto for Kenya Kwanza is agriculture and stimulating agriculture. And so land becomes a big thing, inputs becomes a big thing, and also logistics. Also if you can produce, but you can't take to the market, whether local market and foreign market, then it will be waste. What you produce in Kajiado, if you can't take it to Rukana or to somewhere else, then it's not useful, And that's why we've seen maybe sometimes potatoes and other perishables go to waste in farms, because then the logistics system, the infrastructure system doesn't work. And so the outgoing administration, I think we really must give them a big hand for infrastructure development. And so what we'll be looking at this new administration is the logistics. So we have the infrastructure in place. How do we make sure the logistics work? Then create the markets. Getting everyone to sell by the roadside has not solved the problem. Let's build markets and let's enforce people to operate from markets, because that's the place where they can be helped, where people can buy, people can do value chains and build each other. Organizations like ourselves can find them and really, really capacity build them. A government can offer them help, The other area that this administration will be looking at is small enterprises. And all of those small enterprises, if they're on the roadside, they cannot get the help they need. But if they're organized within markets, within better working spaces, then they can get all the help they need, whether it's social services, whether it's funding, whether it's information, whether it's creating value chains with the bigger organizations. That's what we'll be looking forward to. Then thirdly, as you said, rightly said, fuel prices, this is not a Kenyan problem. Inflation is not a Kenyan problem, it's a global problem. But there are things we can do on our side. Yes, we have had a fuel levy. My thinking has been, especially as we deal with a food crisis, could we maybe move that subsidy, maybe to support the basic foods in this season? Because you and I, the middle class, will still drive. Maybe we'll cut down our travels over the weekend and off work, but we'll move. But if you put that in the public sector, maybe public transport in terms of diesel, and then you put it in food, then I think it will stimulate and give people a better livelihood. So those are some of the things that we'll be looking at. So taxes, how we become competitive as a country, because the less competitive we are and our neighbors become more competitive, they'll attract all the investors and we'll lose those jobs. It's true. We are lending to the market over 1 million young people every year out of school, and they need jobs, they need opportunities, and so we have to make this country attractive for both local and foreign business.
Madam MD, you've touched on quite a number of issues, including the small and medium-sized enterprises, which is a key pillar in the Kenya Kwanza manifesto when you look at the Hustler Fund, which they are proposing to activate in the first 100 days in office. And as KEPSA, now that we are post the election cycle, we've also seen SMEs bearing the brunt of a tattered economy. How is KEPSA aligning itself, especially moving forward, on how you hope to partner with the SMEs in terms of funding, in terms of skills training, and also linking them up with other markets outside Kenya?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because this is what we have been doing. So we're not going to stop. So we are happy to hear the new administration will be thinking of a fund. We've had SME fund, we've had women fund, we've had youth fund, and maybe it's to step back and say, have they delivered what they are supposed to deliver? Could we do something different? We proposed that KEPSA, and this got passed in the last administration. Hopefully we can see the implementation. We are glad that the credit guarantee was passed, and hopefully that we can see full implementation of that. What we've been doing as KEPSA is take one at a time and deal with it. So if it's funding, so we've been working with different institutions. You saw us during COVID, we did work with MasterCard and really went for the very, very small that could not get any funding from the banks and give them interest-free loans. And we're going to continue with that program. We did about 400 of them, and so we are going to continue with that. We have a database of about 10,000 SMEs now under our umbrella that are active. We have many others, but the ones that we are working constantly with are about 10,000, and hope to increase that number. So with this now, then there's the capacity building. So we're doing a lot of capacity building. We run sessions. We run sessions for every Friday for SMEs, but we are hoping to continue to run a lot of that, because a lot of them is information. Then access to markets. Markets is something I'm very passionate about, because if we don't sort out the market, whether it's the local markets or foreign markets for SMEs, then they're not going to grow. We don't want to look and say we have 100,000 SMEs in our database. What we are looking forward to is how to scale them. As long as they're scaling up and getting out of the bracket of the SMEs, then it gives room for others to come in, and they also now grow and be able to contribute the revenue that the country needs. So we've started working. We did launch the CCA KEPSA program, which is the US and Kenya. And was it last year? Yes, with the president. And we already have a cohort that we've already started putting together to start accessing the market in the US, and the US is also doing the same for their SMEs on that side. And we're going to do that with several countries, especially where we have trade deals, whether it's AGOA, Kenya, UK aid, UK trade deal and all that. And as we open those trade deals, we're going to be able to say what are the programs and the projects that we need to do for SMEs. And then linking up. Value chains is a big thing. If you look at all our big companies, they all have a level of value chain. And so what we're doing is encouraging and working with them and saying what you need to be able to create more value chains with the SMEs. And so that these SMEs can be a source of your raw materials, can be a source of your services. They can be a source for different things for you, but in the process, then they grow and mature. But lastly is to really push for buy Kenya, build Kenya. So if we can buy from these SMEs, if we can buy for anyone who's here, then we'll have built. When we say we are buying from SMEs, or we're buying from women, we're buying from the youth, and we're buying from the people who are bringing goods from Turkey, from China, from Europe, and everywhere else.
All right. Well, we've been speaking there to Carole Kariuki, the CEO of KEPSA, just giving us an update in terms of how the business community is gearing up after this election cycle, and it's going to be business on another level.
Well, business on another level indeed. Matters to do with the private sector outlook with the change of regime and new